Welcome to Heald Law Academy, the place to understand how to grow and protect your business. Today I'm with Caroline Wilton, who's the partner heading up the Commercial Property Department at Heald Solicitors LLP. We're going to find out about how statutory obligations in leases can trip up landlords and tenants. Welcome, Caroline.
Thank you.
So let's talk about the leases, statutory obligations in leases. Why are they so important?
The problem with statutory obligations in leases is that they're hidden in the small print. Everybody thinks about your rent and your service charge, for example, but usually the statutory obligations are hidden quite a long way down. So you don't necessarily know that you are going to be caught by a whole raft of things that are coming in generally and from Europe.
So let's talk about energy performance certificates. Who needs them and why should we worry?
Anybody who is selling property will need probably an EPC, an Energy Performance Certificate.
Okay.
The important thing to bear in mind is that from 2018, the lowest band of energy performance certificates, those band F and band G, it'll be illegal for anybody to actually rent property that have those low bands. 1 in 10 residential and 18% of non-domestic properties are affected by that level. It is very important, therefore, for any landlord to be thinking about action now in order to either improve his property or to get rid of it or to get somebody else to do the work for them.
Okay, Caroline, so what about businesses that have been, going for years and they've never seen their landlord? Should they be thinking about it now? Should they be worried?
They need to be, yes. It will have an impact on potential rent review.
Okay.
It also means from 2018, perhaps most importantly, a tenant will not be able to sell or pass on their lease if they are in band F or band G without having done this work. So it is well worth thinking now about doing something while you've got control of your costs. I suspect there'll be quite a scrabble towards the end of 2017 with people trying to get things done in time. If you don't get it done by that time, you face criminal prosecution.
Wow, okay. Talking of criminal prosecution, let's move over to asbestos now. Who has asbestos? Are you committing a criminal offence if you have asbestos in your building?
Not necessarily. Since 2004, any commercial building and a person responsible for the repair of a commercial building has to manage the asbestos. Now, managing can be something as simple as noting it and just making sure that nobody does anything to it. However, the obligation is it has to be done by a qualified person, a qualified asbestos surveyor, and it has to be reviewed by a qualified person. You can't just say, I know about asbestos, therefore it's fine.
Yeah.
And anybody who's doing work, again, has to be regulated. The important thing is to make sure that you are not in breach of the requirements that put yourself or your staff or your employees, your visitors, under some form of risk.
Okay.
And the aim for the asbestos reports is to make sure that people are aware of those risks and can deal with them accordingly. And again, if you don't deal with these adequately, then you are potentially in danger of breaching health and safety legislation.
Wow. Asbestos sounds like something from the past. How many businesses do you think are affected? It can't be that many, surely.
As many as 500,000 businesses will be affected because they have occupation of buildings that have asbestos-containing materials.
I never knew it was that. That's quite a lot, isn't it?
It's a frightening number.
Okay, Caroline, let's talk about fire risk assessments. Who needs to have one and why?
Every employer will need a fire risk assessment. To give you an example, if you have an office building, the freeholder, the owner of the building, will need to have a fire risk assessment which will deal with the common parts, stairs, main entrances, for example. Each tenant will also have to have a fire risk assessment, and this will be an obligation that any insurance company will have within their insurance policy.
So what common mistakes do people make when it comes to fire risk assessments?
A lot of employers don't realise they have to have one.
Okay.
If you are a tenant of a building, if you don't have a fire risk assessment, this could void the insurance policy of the whole building. That means if the building burns down, the insurers will not pay out, and the landlord is going to start looking to somebody to make that shortfall up, and it is quite possible that the tenant will be responsible. And if you think it could be a tenant of a small part of a building, having to technically replace the whole building, it would put people out of business.
Well, quite easily, I think. Okay, Caroline, I've read somewhere about some air conditioning coolants and a ban on some of them, or all of them. What's that all about?
That's about the coolant R22.
Okay.
This was starting to be phased out for a while, but since January of 2015, it has been illegal to use R22 as a coolant within air conditioning.
Wow, that sounds terrifying, Caroline. I mean, who's at risk? Is it still out there? What kind of things does it cause?
Yes, this is all down to the CFCs and global warming. The point, however, is that it again is a criminal act to be using air conditioning with this particular coolant in there. So anybody who still has this coolant within their air conditioning system will need to see who is responsible for replacing it. This most likely will be the tenant, but it could be the landlord. It's why it's very important to have somebody just check the obligations within the lease to see where the obligation lies.
Okay, so is it much more of an environmental issue rather than a human risk of disease or health issues?
There isn't the same risk to humans as there are on other statutory issues. Yes, that's right.
Well, thanks very much, Caroline. Okay, well, that's it for now. Please remember to subscribe to all of our videos, news and events. And feel free to use our website or social media to ask any of our legal experts any questions you may have about commercial law. Bye for now.